So, Digby, when we broke, we were talking about the former Miss Universe, a woman named Machado, who ended up just her situation being raised with Donald Trump ended up sending him off the deep end. He had almost what was close to a Khan family situation where he called into Fox and Friends the next day, still trying to argue that she was too fat for him, and everything he did to shame her about it was justified. We also found out from with more reporting that he ripped her off for wages, that he used racial slurs with her, and then subsequent to that, the Trump people tried to somehow disqualify her by saying that in Venezuela, 2 years after all of that happened, she was involved supposedly with being in a car with a guy who had either committed murder or attempted murder, or that she had threatened to kill a judge. All of this were just accusations. None of it was real. But what it did is it kept the story alive for another couple of days.
Right. I think that was a big mistake. I mean, at this point, smearing this woman really did him no good. I mean, sure, people on the right, I'm sure they're all, they're chasing her down. I feel sorry for her for whatever has happened to her as a result of that. I would not wish it on anyone to be in the crosshairs of that kind of right-wing smear. But as far as it helping him, it did not. I really do not believe that accrued to his benefit. Trump has to get voters from somewhere other than a bunch of nasty, misogynist white guys.
Right.
I mean, he just has to, and the women that they're associated with. I mean, I don't mean to take women off the hook on this because there are plenty of Trump voting women, but those people are secure. He doesn't really need to prove to them anything. But there are a slew of voters out there that are, might have been potentially drawn. He might have been able to reassure them in some respect that he wasn't insane and that he wasn't a liar, and that he wasn't just a jackass. I mean, if he had behaved with some decorum there were gettable voters for him in the undecided pool, and maybe some who are lukewarm on Hillary, and, basically they're Republicans and they don't really want to leave the tribe. But he absolutely, I think, especially those college-educated white women who normally vote Republican, and many of them are saying they're not going to do it, I think he pushed them away, and maybe he pushed them away for good. And, going on Fox and Friends, and then, of course, it was amplified throughout cable news and all over the place, what he said there, and doubling down on his terrible accusations of her being difficult and saying she was overweight and that she deserved it and all of that. It was a very, very bad move. I have no doubt that his campaign was tearing their hair out seeing him do that they did not actually want him to do that. They wanted that story to
go away.
Fade away.
Well, let's talk about that because just about in general, because I want to broaden this out. We only got about several few minutes left. Going forward, we know a couple of things. One, we know that Donald Trump himself, and then later in the week, Eric Trump, believed that it took a lot of courage on behalf of Donald Trump not to mention Bill Clinton's infidelities. And so we can anticipate that he's supposedly going to bring this up. Maybe he holds it for the third debate, right? He keeps using it as a veiled threat. I don't think Hillary Clinton cares one iota about that. In fact, I have to imagine that to the extent that the campaign has contemplated it, I bet they say, good. Because most of America, like you say, those people who are not already voting for Donald Trump do not think that it is a winning move or presidential to blame a wife for the infidelities of her husband and to criticize somebody else's marriage, particularly when that messenger happens to be someone who's thrice married, famous for his infidelity, and et cetera, et cetera. So one of the stories that came out this week is that they are now going to make him practice. That's what we started reading by Wednesday. practice, practice, practice is the new debate strategy for Donald Trump. Here's what I think. I think Donald Trump did practice. I think Donald Trump is not capable of practicing in the way that they need him to. And I don't think he's going to make a darn difference.
Oh, I don't think so either. I mean, look, Tony Schwartz, his co-writer, for Art of the Deal, who is a major critic of his, but who spent a lot of time with him and knows him well. He says he cannot focus and cannot concentrate. He just can't do it. So as far as practicing is concerned, this may be beyond his capability to do it in any kind of focused, concentrated way. And if you read the reports last week that came out of people talking out of school about the quote preparations that happened before the first debate, that was proved to be true. He just has no capacity for that. And in fact, apparently Roger Ailes, who is, behind, he's past his sell-by date, I think. He was talking about, they said, war stories, and, he was in his own world. So he wasn't particularly helpful. And there's also this problem where he's got debate coaches all over the place, many of whom have no political experience and don't have a clue about how to practice for a political debate. So you combine all that, I think it's a very it's a long shot that he's going to be able to do it. And think about this. George W. Bush, who was probably one of the least, intellectually prepared presidential candidates ever,
right.
And he did not perform particularly well, although because the press had it in for Al Gore, they scored him well.
We just got a minute, but yeah, finish up.
Yeah, he practiced for 6 months, at least once a week, did a practice debate before the debates in the 2000 election. And that just tells you something. I mean, it's not easy. And if you're not really smart and don't have underlying knowledge of this, I think it's beyond your capability, to be honest.
And I would lastly say, too, I don't think this guy has the self-awareness to understand what's going on during the debate in terms of the way he's coming off. I think he's got one speed and one speed only. And, I mean, when he walked off that debate stage, he said, I think Lester Holt did a good job. And the reason why he said that is because he thought that he came off well. And it wasn't until the next day, by the time everybody told him, like, no, it didn't go that well, that he started blaming the microphone. He started blaming Lester Holt. He started blaming everybody. And, that he actually, the reason why it didn't do so well is because he held back. I didn't say anything about Clinton's infidelity. So it remains to be seen what happens next. But next time we talk, we'll probably be talking about the VP debate, Digby. So thanks so much for your time. Indeed. All right. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
We got to take a quick break. Sam Seder, Ring of Fire Radio. We'll be right back with more.